every night. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Daniel quietly left the house. Not once, not twice. Every single night, for years. At first, his wife Emily thought he had sleeping problems. Then she started believing he was hiding something, because none of it felt normal. He always woke up at the exact same time, put on the same dark hoodie, picked up his keys silently, and walked out without saying a word. And whenever she asked, "Where are you going?" he always gave the same answer, "Just extra work." But the truth was far stranger than she imagined, because Daniel wasn't going to bars, he wasn't cheating, and he wasn't involved in anything illegal. Every night he drove across the city to an industrial auction that started at 3 a.m., where bankrupt companies sold hundreds of old office computers that nobody cared about. But Daniel saw something completely different inside those machines, something that would eventually change his entire life. Daniel worked a normal IT support job at a mid-sized company. His days were spent fixing printers, resetting passwords, and solving random technical problems for frustrated employees. His salary was average, and his life had started feeling painfully repetitive. Rent, bills, work, sleep. Then repeat the exact same cycle again. Eventually, Daniel realized something terrifying. If he continued depending only on his salary, his life would never truly change. Everything started shifting after he overheard a conversation at work about a bankrupt technology company nearby. The company was liquidating all of its equipment through industrial auctions. Most people ignored the conversation. Daniel didn't, because unlike most people, he understood hardware. Large tech companies constantly replaced their computers with the newest systems, even when the old components inside were still extremely valuable, especially the graphics cards, RTX, GPUs, workstation cards, enterprise-grade processors. To most people, they were just old computers, but to Daniel, they were hidden money. A week later, he attended his first auction, and that night, he almost lost all of his savings. He bought outdated systems nobody wanted and barely made any profit after selling the parts online. But Daniel learned quickly. That was the dangerous thing about him. He learned incredibly fast. After several months, he started researching companies before the auctions even began. If the company was an animation studio, an AI startup, a video production business, or an engineering office. Then, Daniel already knew there was valuable hardware inside those systems. While everyone else saw electronic junk, Daniel saw thousands of dollars. Sometimes he bought entire groups of computers just to remove 2 or 3 rare components hidden inside them. And after finishing work every evening, he drove directly to shipping centers before going home, because shipping companies didn't operate late at night. He shipped every item he sold individually, 1 graphics card, 1 processor, 1 set of RAM, and he handled everything himself. At first, the hardware completely filled his car. Anti-static bags, small cardboard boxes, loose cables everywhere. But eventually, the car stopped being enough. So Daniel rented a tiny office near the shipping center. The place looked depressing. Gray walls, cheap lighting, old metal shelves. But in one corner, he built a small professional photography setup with clean white backgrounds and studio lights. And that tiny office quietly became the center of his new life. He photographed every component professionally, uploaded the listings online, and sold them to buyers across different cities and countries. Slowly, his capital started growing faster and faster, and every dollar he earned went straight back into the business. Bigger auctions, more inventory, entire office liquidations. Then Daniel discovered something else. People around the world were spending huge amounts of money on used luxury watches, especially Rolex watches from Japan. Because Japan had one of the biggest second-hand luxury watch markets in the world, prices there were often much lower than in other countries. And by that point, Daniel had learned something important. Real money usually exists in places where most people don't understand the true value of something. So he started ordering watches directly from Japan. The watches were delivered straight to his small office. Then he photographed them the same way he photographed computer parts, professional lighting, close-up shots, clean presentation, and then he sold them online. At first, only 1 watch, then 2, then dozens. Quietly, Daniel now had 2 businesses running at the same time, computer hardware and luxury watches. Within only 2 years, his monthly profits became more than 10 times larger than his office salary. And yet, nothing about his visible lifestyle changed. Same clothes, same car, same small apartment. Because Daniel understood one important truth: opportunities never last forever. One day, people would discover those auctions, competition would increase, and profit margins would collapse. And maybe one day, the same thing would happen with watches too. That's why he refused to build his future entirely on temporary opportunities. Instead of wasting money on appearances, he started buying assets. He purchased 2 small furnished apartments, then rented each room separately to university students. Slowly, his monthly income stopped depending only on product sales. Now he had multiple income streams quietly working together at the same time: computer parts, watches, and apartments. And still, every night at 2:17 a.m., Daniel quietly left the house. Until one evening, everything changed because of a watch. After years of exhausting work, Daniel finally decided to reward himself. So he bought a Rolex, not diamond-covered, not flashy, just a clean, classic model he had dreamed about for years. And the moment he walked into the apartment that night, Emily noticed it immediately. She stared at the watch for several seconds, then quietly asked, "Daniel, where did you get that?" At first, he tried avoiding the question, but she kept staring at him. She wasn't angry, just confused. Then she finally asked the question she had carried inside her for years. "What are you doing every night?" Daniel sat down silently, and for the first time in years, he looked genuinely exhausted, not physically, emotionally. Then he told her everything: the auctions, the computers, the office, the watches, the apartments. Emily listened to every word without interrupting him once. Then she asked the most important question of all: "Why didn't you tell me?" Daniel looked down at the Rolex for a moment before answering, "Because I didn't know if any of it would last." He paused. "I didn't want you dreaming about a life that could disappear overnight." Then he looked around their tiny apartment and quietly said, "All I wanted was to make sure we would never struggle forever." And in that moment, Emily finally understood where Daniel had really been going every night at 2:17 a.m.